And then there are legends. And just when the world thought we had said goodbye for good, the name Carolyn Bessette Kennedy is once again echoing across headlines, timelines, and whispered conversations. With love story reigniting fascination with one of America's most hauntingly romantic couples, we're being pulled back into a world of elegance, mystery, and devastating loss. And now, rare archival interviews are resurfacing, moments frozen in time that feel almost sacred. These clips, captured in 1998 and 1999, offer a glimpse of the woman behind the myth, the woman who married America's prince, the woman who never asked for fame but carried it with quiet grace. Before the tragedy, before the headlines turned somber, there was a spark, a connection that captivated an entire generation. When John F. Kennedy Jr. first crossed paths with Carolyn, their chemistry felt cinematic, playful, electric. In one now cherished exchange, their flirtation was as sharp as it was charming. "You think I can get your number?" he teased. Her response? Cool, composed, and unmistakably Carolyn. "I don't give my number out to strangers." It was wit meeting charisma, mystery meeting legacy. And from that playful banter blossomed a relationship that would become one of the most watched romances of the 1990s. But Carolyn Bessette Kennedy was never just Mrs. Kennedy. Before the marriage, she was a fashion publicist with a refined eye and a strong sense of self. Friends often described her as powerful yet gentle, someone with conviction, kindness, and a dry humor that only those close to her truly understood. She wasn't chasing attention. If anything, she seemed almost allergic to it. Yet once she married into America's most famous political dynasty, the spotlight followed her everywhere. Cameras flashed, tabloids speculated, and still she rarely flinched. In 1996, when she married John in a private ceremony that stunned the press, it felt like a fairy tale. The image of Carolyn in her minimalist gown became instantly iconic. She redefined bridal fashion overnight. She redefined modern American royalty. And yet, those who knew her say she wrestled quietly with what it meant to become Mrs. Kennedy. As one dramatized line now echoes in cultural memory, "It's not a question of if I want to spend the rest of my life with you, it's a question of if I'm cut out to be Mrs. JFK Jr." That line speaks volumes. It reveals a woman aware of the weight of history resting on her shoulders. By 1998, about 2 years into their marriage, Carolyn stepped out for one of her rare public appearances at the 9th annual Fire and Ice Ball benefiting the Revlon UCLA Women's Cancer Research Program. The evening sparkled with glamour and purpose, drawing high-profile guests for a charity fashion show. She arrived alongside Kennedy family cousins, including Maria Shriver and Bobby Shriver. When asked what she thought of the show that night, Carolyn's answer was simple. "It was very exciting, wonderful evening." Pressed for a highlight, she refused to single out a moment. "The entire evening was spectacular. There's no highlight." That was so quintessentially Carolyn, measured, gracious, unwilling to center herself. When someone playfully asked how she'd look in the Versace collection showcase that evening, she sidestepped the attention with humor and humility. Even in a room designed for spectacle, she never tried to outshine it. Watching that footage now feels almost surreal. There's a softness to her voice, a composed elegance in the way she stands. You see a woman navigating an impossible balance, supporting causes, honoring family, and still protecting her privacy. Then came 1999, a year that would change everything. Just 2 months before the unthinkable happened, Carolyn appeared again publicly, this time accompanying her husband at the Newman's own George Awards. The event, connected to the charitable work of Paul Newman, celebrated businesses that blended profit with social commitment. It was a night about generosity and impact. As John co-hosted, his passion for mixing good business with social responsibility was evident. "We have 400 nominees and 10 finalists. It's an award that hasn't been done before, and I think it's a very timely one. You can mix good business and social commitment." His voice carried conviction, a belief that corporate America could do better. Carolyn stood beside him, poised and supportive. When asked how she defined generosity, she deflected the spotlight once again. "You're all here tonight," she said. It was subtle, but it revealed something important about her worldview. She saw generosity as collective, not individual. John, ever the romantic, added with a grin, "I'm generous to my wife." The room laughed, and in that fleeting moment, they were simply a couple in love. Not icons, not headlines, just two people sharing a joke. Looking back, those interviews feel heavy with meaning, because we know what came next. On July 16, 1999, the plane carrying John, Carolyn, and Lauren crashed into the Atlantic Ocean. The news shattered the nation. It was déjà vu for the Kennedy family, a dynasty marked by triumph and tragedy. The image of Carolyn, so often photographed walking briskly through Manhattan streets, suddenly became a memory. The resurgence of interest sparked by Love Story has reopened old emotions. For many, it's not just nostalgia, it's grief revisited. Younger generations are discovering Carolyn for the first time. Her sleek style, her enigmatic presence, her refusal to conform. Fashion insiders still cite her as a muse. Designers reference her minimalist aesthetic. Cultural critics debate whether she was misunderstood by the press, unfairly portrayed as aloof when she was simply guarded. Experts who have studied the Kennedy legacy often note how Carolyn disrupted expectations. She wasn't a political insider. She wasn't a society debutante groomed for the spotlight. She was modern, independent, and sometimes that independence was misinterpreted as coldness. But archival footage tells a different story. In those rare interviews, you see warmth flicker in her eyes. You hear a gentle humor in her responses. You witness a woman trying to remain authentic in a world determined to define her. There's also something haunting about hearing her voice now. It feels intimate, fragile, almost like she's reaching across decades. In a culture obsessed with oversharing, Carolyn's restraint feels revolutionary. She revealed only what she chose to reveal, and that mystery became part of her power. Comparisons to other high-profile couples are inevitable. America has always been fascinated by romance at the highest levels of fame, but few stories carry the almost mythic quality of Carolyn and John. Their love felt cinematic, yet their ending felt unbearably real, like a chapter torn out too soon. And perhaps that's why these interviews matter so much. They humanize the legend. They remind us that behind the designer coats and tabloid covers was a woman who laughed, who supported charitable causes, who stood proudly beside her husband at events celebrating social good. A woman who, in her own understated way, left a lasting imprint. What does this renewed attention mean today? For historians, it's a chance to reassess. For fashion lovers, it's a rediscovery of timeless style. For romantics, it's a bittersweet reminder that even the brightest love stories can end abruptly. And for those who lived through that summer of 1999, it's a reopening of wounds that never fully healed. Yet there is comfort too, because every time archival footage resurfaces, every time her voice plays again, Carolyn isn't just a headline from the past. She becomes present, alive in memory, alive in influence. The legacy of Carolyn Bessette Kennedy isn't built on lengthy interviews or dramatic speeches. It's built on quiet moments, like answering a reporter's question with grace, or standing shoulder to shoulder with John as he championed philanthropy. It's built on style without excess, on mystery without malice, on love without spectacle. And maybe that's the greatest love story of all. Not the tragedy that ended it, but the authenticity that defined it. In a world that constantly demands more access, more confession, more drama, Carolyn's silence speaks volumes. It reminds us that sometimes power lies not in what you reveal, but in what you choose to protect. As Love Story introduces her to a new generation, and as rare interviews bring her voice back into our living rooms, we're reminded that legends don't fade. They evolve, they resurface, they inspire. Carolyn Bessette Kennedy may have left this world far too soon, but the elegance, conviction, and quiet strength she embodied continue to ripple through culture. And in those fleeting clips from 1998 and 1999, we see her not as a myth, but as a woman, thoughtful, poised, deeply in love, and forever unforgettable.